Let's talk about religion. It's not a controversial subject at all. It has caused no problem for anybody throughout history in its entirety. But let's talk about it more specifically for D&D. Let's get even more specific. Let's talk about it for my upcoming summer campaign I'm going to run called AutoDM. AutoDM is going to be a high fantasy sci-fi campaign. We're going to be set in a galaxy that takes place in the same dimension, universe, alternate reality of our universe. It's an alternate reality. Rewind that. It's an alternate version of our universe where humans grew up on Earth and eventually found out to realize that magic was real, elves were real, dwarves were real, dragonborns, all the typical D&D classes were real and hidden in the far reaches of the world. And by coming together and using magic, yep, and each other's resources, they're able to start exploring space. And then eventually they left our galaxy and they started colonizing more and more galaxies. And you shoot 25,000 years into the future from that point. And that is where AutoDM takes place. It takes place in a different galaxy, in an alternate version of our universe. I've been trying to set up this campaign. I am kind of lost in the weeds a little bit about it. I've come up with like the 10 major kingdoms. I've given them all kind of like brief overviews. You can check out our video Friends and Foes about how they interact with each other and who likes who. The galaxy is definitely either at war or on the brink of war. And our heroes are being thrown in the midst of this. They're going to work for a company called the United Worlds of the Galaxy, the UWG, whose whole purpose is to bring peace to the galaxy and to get all these different factions to stop warring, right? One of my characters, or not one of my characters, I apologize. One of my players wants to play a character who is disillusioned with the church he grew up in. And it got me thinking, well, then that means that there needs to be churches in my space campaign. And how do I want that to work? What religion do I want to be true? Not only what religion do I want to be true, are multiple religions true? What religions did we bring with us from our alternate version of Earth? What religions did the elves bring with them? What religions did the dwarfs bring with them? These are all questions that the campaign will need to answer. And how do they all mix, right? D&D takes a very hedonistic, they take a very polytheistic view of religion, where gods from every different sect of religion are true. And D&D itself has its own set of gods, right? You could bring in Thor or Hades, Apollo. You could bring in all these different gods from religions that have existed throughout the history of real world Earth. They also have their own list of gods. They have gods like Sol, the Raven Queen, Mortodin. So how do you mix all of these together? How do you get them to mesh? With that being said, I'm coming up to another issue. Religion, the more I think about it, plays a more important role in the overall story of the game. So how do I get all of these things to be true? My player described his character being disillusioned from the church. And when he was talking about it, I imagined something as big and universal as, say, the Catholic Church. Can there be a, quote, Catholic Church when all of these religions are true? So again, my issue is then how do I mesh all of these things to work without it just being gelatinous cube of chaos? I think in the thought process of my brain, one thing we need to consider also is the religion of the galaxy from before we occupied it. There are species that belong to the galaxy of Adodiem that are not from Earth, but that are not traditional D&D species, right? You will have like the quote unquote conquered people of the galaxy. So think about it. Think of it this way: humans, elves, and dwarves all come from an alternate version of Earth. So do dragonborns and halflings, gnomes, orcs, tieflings, goblins, anything you think of as like a traditional D&D species, right? But what about the people who lived there before? And what about their religions? Did they have many of them did have religions? And as something is spread out as a galaxy with multiple different star systems and worlds and planets, how do you make all this ring true? I need to limit how many of these religions can be true. I think that I'm going to create a universal, quote unquote, Catholic church that the humans have brought with them, and maybe even a lot of elves and dwarves believe in this too. Maybe where it's like, okay, and I think that will be, quote unquote, the normal D&D pantheon. So I think you'll have like Sol as the Sun Lord and so on and so forth, all these tiers. Um, but I'm gonna go through and I think I'm gonna limit severely how many of these gods actually exist. I've decided on how I'm gonna do it. Um, I have like a list of like the major deities that the quote unquote Catholic Church accepts. I don't know what I'm going to call the church yet. I don't think I'll call it the Catholic Church. That'd be too on the nose, I guess. Quote unquote biggest religion of the galaxy. And I have a list of deities that they acknowledge as rightful deities. And these would be the main deities in the campaign, but that's not to say that any god that you can go in like D&D Beyond and see could exist in some form in this galaxy. And I might just be a different version or a different manifestation of a god on my list already, or maybe I'm missing something. Without spending a couple more days reading through every god that there is and really figuring out how I want each one to work, in the moment I will decide, you know what? Yes, that god does exist in this world. And I can always add it to the keep saying the Catholic Church. I can always add it to the Universal Church in my world later. How I'm gonna work around the existing religions of all of the species that were previously part of this galaxy before it was colonized by the species from our alternate version of our world. They've just been colonized so long, they're kind of pushed underground. 10,000 years, most of the religion has been pushed underground, just like no original species of the galaxy currently owns a kingdom. There might be independent planets that haven't been conquered by one of the 10 major kingdoms, but each major kingdom of the galaxy is predominantly controlled by a traditional D&D race. You can, again, when you go watch my Friends and Foes video, in that video, I break down like the Elven Kingdom, the Dwarf Kingdom, the Human Kingdom. There's an Orc Kingdom, there's a Tiefling Kingdom, there's a Fey Kingdom. So I think that they've just been colonized for so long, 10,000, 15,000 years, that it's just been pushed down and suppressed. That's something I'll use as like a plot point for the story to push it at some point, is like these warring factions are destroying this galaxy, and there's these other people who've lived here longer who are dealing with the consequences of that. And I think that could build some really interesting storytelling down the future, but I will see what my players want to get into. From what it sounds like, they just want to be space pirates and make fart jokes. But I'll go ahead and list off the deities that I have that the Universal Church recognizes as, we'll call them truthful deities. The Universal Church recognizes these as truthful deities. We're gonna obviously you have Ao, the creator god, right? He's just kind of the creator of everything, but he just stays out of it. We're gonna have Sol, and another name for him is gonna be Belanus. Uh, he's gonna be like your sun god and the current leader of the gods in the absence of Ao. You'll have Saloon, the moon goddess. Um, you'll have Thanatos, the god of death. Hades, god of the grave. Anubis, the god of judgment. Tyr, the god of justice. Mystra, the goddess of magic. Hermes slash Loki. So these are going to be like the church considers them the same. I know they're not the same. This is my galaxy. I'll do what I want. I'll be the god of thieves and trickery. Set slash Talos, again, I know, not the same, be the god of darkness and storms. And then you'll have Bahal, the god of murder. I just realized there's a lot of male gods, so I'll figure out a way later on to add some more um, goddesses. That's currently how I'm going to have the religion set up, keeping in mind that the 9 hells exist, and so does the abyss. So demons and devils exist as well, in their own forms, right? So the 9 lords of hell are there. Asmodeus will be there. Orcus will be there. Think of major demon lords and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's kind of how religion is gonna work out, and the more I think about it, the bigger part it will play in AutoDM. Keep a lookout for more videos. Pretty soon we're gonna start dropping videos of my friend Zach's campaign that we're playing next, called the Weeping Tree. We just had our first couple sessions. It's been super fun. Can't wait to start posting videos about it. I think everybody's gonna really like it. Jack's doing a bang up job as a DM. Please like and subscribe and hit that bell for more. Thank you.